What's up, guys? Spenny. Let me just set the table here by saying Joe Biden is the worst president of my lifetime. I believe that he all but wrecked the country. The damage done by the Joe Biden regime is some of the worst that's ever been done to the country since the Civil War, honestly. So my assessment of Joe Biden is as negative as it could be. However, I'm softening on Joe Biden. Let me explain why. Joe Biden was totally lobotomized. Joe Biden was suffering through terminal cancer and terminal cancer treatment secretly while he was president. Everybody around him knew this. Joe Biden wasn't really making any of these decisions. Donald Trump says so. Like, these aren't Joe Biden's actual policies. He was just along for the ride. He was just like a barely warm cadaver that was being trotted about. And now Joe Biden, as Joe Biden is entering the final stages of his radiation treatment for his terminal cancer, it's become quite clear who the actual power was behind the scenes. Now all but admitting it. Here, ladies and gentlemen, you have Jimmy Kimmel on the stage, LOL, with Joe Biden and Barack Obama. Let me play you the actual clip. Because what this is the single saddest clip of the 2024 election cycle. This is, of course, right after they threw Joe Biden directly down the stairs into the garbage chute and the dumpster. You have a very fancy fundraiser here in Los Angeles where Joe Biden doesn't really know where he is. Apparently his answers were completely nonsensical. He's on stage with Obama, who's acting like the real president, and everyone's treating him like that. And then Obama has to grab Joe's arm. Look at this. He has to grab Joe Biden's arm because Joe Biden doesn't know where the hell he is. He's like just wobbling around. None of his answers were sensical at all. Even the reporters there said that like Joe Biden nobody knew what the hell Joe Biden was saying. This is probably because Joe Biden was drugged up within an inch of his mind. Hunter Biden now admits this. Joe Biden was on heavy drugs and didn't know what the hell he was doing. You see here, he's like robotic, of course, and walking off. He's not walking off under his own power. Joe Biden has to be like manhandled by Obama, and it's poetic in a way because this is exactly what the entire presidency was. Now we have that confirmed. Barack Obama straight up saying it. Just a reminder, Joe Biden didn't recognize George Clooney at the George Clooney fundraiser. That was the George Clooney fundraiser here, right? So here's a photo from that fundraiser. You can see Julia Roberts holding on to Joe Biden's arm, and Joe Biden with his weird ass, the way he holds his hands right here. And Obama, the real president, standing beside, and George Clooney like saying, well, what the hell, dude? George Clooney, I think, is garbage, but like most people recognize George Clooney. There are plenty of cameras. There's plenty of sort of like off-the-cuff camera angles like this, where a vacant-looking Joe Biden is being lectured to by the real president, by Barack Obama. And everybody just kind of knew what was going on here. Not only did Barack Obama brag about it.
Do you wish like you had a third term? You know what? If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. Wow. I'd be fine with it.
I could just deliver the lines, right? Well, it didn't work out well for you because you found a guy who literally couldn't deliver the lines. Isn't that something? Obama helped lead the U.S. shadow diplomacy corps that pushed Europe's Orwellian new censorship law, and Obama's NGO arm, the Obama Foundation, added a focus to combating information. Barack Obama is pining about how he wanted to bring wholesale global censorship to the internet. He was able to do it in Europe, just wasn't able to do it in America. Of course, Barack Obama, the only president who didn't leave Washington, D.C. in American history. Go back to George Washington, our first president. Every president, when they are out of office or kicked out of office, leaves. Some of them in total humiliation, some of them with a parade. But all of them leave. Barack Obama moved down the street to his mansion in a place called Colorama in order to do stuff like this, to run a total and complete shadow government. And now he's admitting it. Not only in like these funny, not only in these poorly aged Colbert clips where he talks about having a shadow government, but in a brand new podcast clip where Barack Obama straight up admits, I ran a shadow government. I ran a government totally parallel and athwart the actual ruling regime in the country, effectively against American democracy itself. Barack Obama talking about how effectively he not only did he want a shadow prime minister, he is whinging about how we should have a parliamentary system where you can have shadow governments effectively, but that he's the one who ran it. Here we go.
I remember when you left, and there is this sort of a vacuum, and in terms of my responsibility to my audience is different. But how do you sort of, did you feel the weight of that responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, what was unusual for me was obviously a lot of what I represented.
Yeah.
A lot of what Michelle and I had tried to project, the values, our thinking about America.
Uh-huh.
My successor seemed to represent the opposite.
Right.
Not seemed, did.
Yeah.
And so I think there was a lot of anger, a lot of sadness,
Yeah.
some fear among a big chunk of the country. And one of the problems with the American political system is, although we have political parties, we don't have a parliamentary system. So basically, the president, in my case, Democrat, I leave office, and there's no obvious person who's now the shadow prime minister, the leader of the party for the Democrats, right? And so there were a lot of terrific people who were doing good work, but we have this weird situation where you don't have a designated person who's speaking on behalf of the whole party. So I actually found myself drawn back in to day-to-day politics or commentary more than I had wanted to be.
After the second term.
In 2017, 2018. And I thought I was going to be able to remove myself more from being out there in public and was going to be able to concentrate on what I really wanted to do, which was coach the next generation of leadership.
Sure.
Move from player to coach, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, the next clip is also extra fascinating because it gets into how Barack Obama was able to, how he says he didn't want to stay in government, but he did, even though he had no formal power, that he's gonna stay. He was effectively trying to stay president. It's an amazing admission here in his own Obama way with a bunch of gooey word salads. But nonetheless, an incredible admission.
And I kept on being asked to comment on news of the day and look at this outrage and why aren't you out there more and that kind of thing. And look, that's flattering.
Yeah.
And it's an indication that you made a connection with people.
Sure.
But I tried to be a little bit disciplined about recognizing that I'd moved on to a new phase where I did not have formal power. Mm-hmm. I have some, hopefully, moral suasion, some credibility.
Yeah.
But I didn't have formal power. And so more than anything, for the long term, what I could do that would be most helpful would be to start promoting lifting up, shining a spotlight on those, that next generation of leadership and talent, new voices. Because part of what also happens is, as you get older, Michelle and I joke about this, no matter how much you want to pretend otherwise, you're starting to get a little out of touch. You're not completely, plugged into the zeitgeist.
And it happens naturally.
It just happens.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't, my brain doesn't register TikTok.
Yeah, mine either.
The same way that it does my 16-year-old niece.
Right.
Right?
You got to get a guy to do it for you.
It's not just the technology itself.
Yeah.
It's that I'm not plugged in. I'm not relating to the cultural, stream.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I guess it's good to hear it, right? Great that he's finally saying it, but I found myself more drawn into politics than I wanted to be. I want a shadow government, and he moved less than a mile from the White House. Yeah, we all knew what the deal was, and now, man, he looks broke and beat up for it, because it really does waste your soul. It's a shame, ladies and gentlemen. It shouldn't be like this, but Obama's a very, very different style of president, isn't it? Yeah. Marxists do not give up power easily. Socialists do not give up power easily. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. Trump is your president. See ya.